Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. Got a few things to discuss this morning. The first of which is my kind of ramping up to do these silly videos and podcasts. I wake up and after I do my morning routine, I grab my phone and read the news. I've never had a subscription to a newspaper, not a single time. But as soon as I got my fingertips on the internet, I began reading the news. As soon as as the internet became more and more convenient, as in on the phone, I began to read the news more and more. Anyway, now I read the news usually laying in bed, and then as I kind of come to my morning senses and I get up and I head downstairs, I contemplate what I've read. And part of the reason I enjoy doing these morning podcasts is it helps me to focus. I'm preparing my mind as I prepare to talk about whatever's on my mind. And it's helped. As you age, you start to worry about things like I'm forgetting certain words. And one of those words I keep forgetting is electrolytes. And I don't know why that word eludes me some days, but I just can't grasp the word electrolytes. Maybe I've just got too much other stuff going through my mind. I need another sip of coffee. So the ability to focus when you have a task at hand. I always thought that I was able to do that well. But when I started doing these videos, I realized that I wasn't very focused, hence the name Ramblings with Joe. But the doing the videos in the morning really kind of zeroed me in on my thought process and my routine. And it's weird now because if I don't do a podcast, like on the weekends, I feel like I'm not as focused throughout the day. It's just something that came up to me this morning. So, like everyone else, I'm worried about topic 2. I'm worried about the Middle East, an expanding war. And I remember yesterday I mentioned that I wonder how the Abraham Accords are going to affect the rising conflict between Iran and Israel. So this morning, I'm doing a search on Apple News. I have an Apple phone, and I'm having trouble figuring how this is going to affect the countries of that area of the world, how the Abraham Accords are going to affect those countries. And I understand that part of it is that the legacy media doesn't really want to give credit to Trump so far as the Abraham Accords goes. The previous administration, the people that ran the Biden administration, took it as far as to say that they're not to mention the Abraham Accords and use the name Abraham Accords. At any rate, I was curious how they were going to affect it, and I really wasn't having any luck searching for anything like the countries that were part of the Abraham Accord, how they would affect it, the conflict. And so it occurred to me, there's a much better searcher than me. I switched to Grok. and I put into Grok, I typed in something like, how will the Abraham Accords affect the rising conflict between Israel and Iran? And I have to say that Grok, actually, some of you may be using Chat GPT. I use Grok because, I don't know, I found it more conducive to my way of doing things. But I have to say that Grok was much more neutral about its reporting than anything I saw on Apple News. And Apple News is just for those of you who have Android or have never experienced Apple News is just a kind of a centralized place where all the news articles from all kinds of news organizations are put. And you get more if you subscribe to Apple Plus, and we subscribe to Apple Plus because we have the Apple Family Plan, which gives you, I feel like I'm doing an advertisement for Apple, but it's a good, there's a lot of different news organizations included in Apple Plus. And sometimes you run into the problem of, you need an individual subscription to read this article, which, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay a subscription and see ads. Pick one, not both. Anyway, my second topic today was about Grok, and I really was intrigued by the ability of Grok to be neutral. It gave the pros and the cons, in this case of the Abraham Accord, and it gave a conclusion as well, and it listed it as a conclusion, which is something you can't really get with a traditional news article. I mean, yes, they can put conclusion toward the end, and I suppose that a news article in its totality should be a conclusion, but the idea that it's unbiased, that's not really something that you expect from today's legacy news media anyway. So I don't know if I'll start using Grok to find out the latest news or not. I'll definitely be using Grok to do some deeper searches on some news art. One of the nice things that I was able to do is toward the end of, and I understand that Grok is kind of pushing you in these directions, but toward the end of at the end of the Grok conclusion, it said if you want a chart showing the economic impact of the Abraham Accords on Israel and the members of the Abraham Accord, it can do that. So I said, make the chart, and it made the chart. And so that led me down a different rabbit hole where the biggest economic trader with Israel that was a result of the Abraham Accords was the United Arab Emirates. And we're not talking about a little bit of money here. We're talking about over $1 billion. It may have been over $2 billion. It was close to it. So it was when Trump got them to sign on to the Abraham Accords, I had no idea how much more business Israel was going to do with the UAE. I had no idea that was going on, and this kind of sent me down another rabbit hole. And of course, immediately I asked Grok, okay, so has the UAE put out a position about the rise in conflict between those two countries? And immediately, yes indeed, it has put out a official position, which I could have searched in those, in the Apple News Plus for 15 minutes and had trouble finding the results there. And so that brings me to topic 3, which is the Iran-Israel conflict. They have always been enemies. In one of the articles, they actually called Iran the arch enemy of Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. I didn't know that was a vernacular that we used in everyday language. I was immediately pulled out of the topic and went down another rabbit hole of, wow, are we, that felt comic book style to me, comic booky. I don't know. But that pulled me out of the concentration point of what I was heading toward with that search. At any rate, the United Arab Emirates has expressed that it would like for Israel to stop attacking Iran. And it is 100% against the attacks from Israel on Iran. That's the front side. The back side is they have kept diplomatic channels open with both countries, and they are trying to get both countries to come to the table for peace talks. It's very concerning that we are not hearing anything about that in the news here in America. There are countries that still want peace, and obviously the biggest, I'm sure, well, I don't know. On second thought, maybe not. My initial thought was that the UAE wants it because of economic reasons, but that's very localized thinking on my part. The UAE is right there. They are in that region. Economics is probably secondary to, they don't want this war to escalate and spread. So sometimes I have to remind myself that, not everything is America-centric. That's a very localized war for them. At any rate, I do believe that, I don't believe, I hope and I pray every day that they find a peaceful end to the Gaza conflict and the Iranian conflict. Which brings me to topic that I didn't know I was going to go to. Topic number 4, which is Dave Rubin and Dave Smith. So, Rubin and Smith earlier, last month, expressed a desire to have a debate, and I was really looking forward to that. And I don't know if it's going to happen, but that I was reading some comments that were very interesting because Dave Smith he's either hated or loved. I think the guy's okay. The number one complaint I think people have right now about Dave Smith is his anti-Israeli government stance. And I don't know. I mean, I see his point of view. I'm really torn as far as how I feel about Israel, the government, not the people. And I think it's sad that I have to say the government and not the people, because I am not an anti-Semite. I'm not anti-Jewish. I'm not anti-people. I don't want people dying. But let me give a little bit of background on this one. So a little bit more rambling this morning. Yesterday when I was coming into work, I was listening to Tucker Carlson talking to Ted Cruz. There's a very contentious, I haven't finished it. I'll finish it this morning. The podcast was very contentious. They were both very heated at times. And Tucker Carlson was not allowing Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, to get away with anything. He called him on every issue, and he called him when the senator kind of insinuated that he was an anti-Semite. And yeah, that's why I feel like I need to say things like the Israeli government. Usually when we're talking about countries, what we do is we say, America. The American government is usually referred to as just America. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. It may be a good thing that we have to start distinguishing between the two, because the American people don't really want anybody at war. And President Trump's finding that out right now. There's a huge contingent of his supporters who are falling away because he's not getting a handle on this thing in the Middle East. During his first administration, he bragged that he was the peaceful president, but he's not stopping all this fighting from happening right now. As a matter of fact, everything kind of points toward the possible escalation from his point of view in his administration. So the idea that I have to sit here and qualify that I'm not an anti-Semite, that I don't hate Jewish people, it's irritating is what it is. It's very irritating. I've been accused of things in the past, and I've always let my history stand for itself. I'm not a racist. I'm not anti-Semite. I'm not anything but a libertarian. I want to live and let live. At any rate, I don't know how to feel about the Israeli government. When October 7th happened, it was a nightmare for their country, and we expected there to be retaliation. I didn't expect it at the level that they've taken it to. It literally feels like they are just going to bulldoze the Gaza Strip until it's just a flat piece of land. Iran, being the number one sponsor of Hamas, and Iran, my opinion here, obviously trying to get nuclear weapons. They are actively pursuing it. And they are the number one destabilizing force in that region. And really, whether you think Israel is right or wrong for what they're doing for their attack on Iran comes down to the two things. Number one, do you believe that Iran is actively seeking nuclear weapon technology? And my answer for that one is yes, I do. I do think that they are. And number two, if they get nuclear weapons, do you believe that they would use those nuclear weapons on anybody in the world, whether it be America, Israel, or maybe one of the member states that signed the Abraham Accord? And my answer to that is also yes. I do believe that the current Iranian regime would indeed use that nuclear weapon. I worry that they're going to create a dirty bomb and use it. So yes, I do believe that they will. So I understand. Not happy. I wish it wasn't happening. But I definitely understand why Israel is taking the action they are against Iran. And in light of them being the number one sponsor of the attack on October 7th, it's a bad deal. I mean, Israel's in a bad position. It's very difficult for those people in that region of the world to get along at all. And if there is someone actively trying to destroy you as a country, that's not helping. At any rate, that was a long rant about, well, really what I started off trying to find out this morning was the Abraham Accords' impact on the conflict. And it's kind of a self-limiting factor. The Abraham Accords, at least the Abraham Accords affected the United Arab Emirates to the point where they could be a de-escalating force of negotiation. That's what I hope happens. Evidently, we can't get it from our current administration, so I'm hoping that we can get it from someone in the region. That was a very heavy podcast this morning, and if you weren't up for a little heaviness, I apologize. Maybe I'll throw a note up there saying that this one's kind of heavy. So if either of my viewers found that too heavy, I apologize. But you know, it's a topsy-turvy world we living in, and it's tough some mornings waking up. I also had a hard day yesterday. I had a difficult time during my job, and I got hung up a couple times, and it was a difficult day. I'm through it. I'm over it. I'm looking forward to today. What's today? Today's Thursday. And we're sneaking up on the weekend, as I am fond of saying. Thursday, June 19th. And I'm hoping for a good day today. I'm hoping for a good day. If it's fantastic, that will be icing on the cake, a cherry on top of the proverbial ice cream. But I am hoping for a good day. Yesterday was rough, but without the rough days, we can't appreciate the great days. So I'll say thank you for the rough day as well as the great days. My backyard looks atrocious. Y'all, this is the window I look at every morning when I'm curious. And my backyard just looks horrible. I've got to cut it, but it has rained and rained and rained. And before I came home yesterday, it was raining, so I couldn't cut the yard then. Probably wouldn't have anyway because I had such a hard day at work. But this is part of my routine now. I look out and on today's backyard report, it needs cutting. But this is, it's getting out of control. I'm sure my neighbors aren't happy with me, but I'll get to it this weekend. It's just been a busy time in our lives. That's all I got today. I'm going to go out and try and take this day on and have a good day. I hope you do the same. I hope you have a good day. I hope you find peace, love, and dream.